One of my favorite sayings is by Sun Tzu. He talks about death ground and he's talking about warriors. He says warriors will fight with three times the power when they are on death ground. And then he kind of labels out what death ground is. Death ground is that you have no other option but to kill or be killed. No one is coming to save you, and there is no plan B.
Hey, I'm Dr. Keith Johnson. I help men become dangerously confident in the four main domains of life: spiritually, relationally, physically, and financially. Thank you so much for joining us for the Dangerous Men Show. Today we have a special guest, one of my good friends, Keaton with Limitless Society. I'm so excited to have him on. But before we bring him on, listen, I want to tell you something that I think is really critical for every man to understand. All of life, guys, is going to try to box you in. And if you think about it, everything in our life is a box. We wake up in the morning in a bed box. And then we're sleeping in a bedroom box. And then we leave that bedroom box to enter into our house box. And then we sit in front of a computer box. And we look at our phone, which is a box 500 times a day. Then we jump in our car to go to work, which is another box. And if you look at your life, everything in life is always trying to box you in, to put you in a cage. And here's one of the things that I believe very strongly is that if you're going to live as a dangerous man, you've got to be willing to break out of the cage of what the majority, of what the masses of men, the way they talk, the way they think, and what they do. There's an old saying, and I love it, from a poet. He said this. He said, "The bird in the cage looks at the bird that is flying and thinks the bird that flies has a disease." Guys, there's so many men that I run into today that they criticize highly successful men. They criticize the wealthy, they criticize the rich, and they criticize high achievers. Here at the Dangerous Men's Movement, we don't do that. We celebrate high achievers. We don't think the birds that are flying have a disease. We think that the birds who've chosen to fly and break out of the box, out of the cages, we think those birds or men are to be admired. And today we have an incredible man with us. He loves God. He puts his family first place. I've been to his house. We hung out together. Beautiful mansion, has a helicopter, making a massive difference. He has millions of followers on YouTube. But most importantly, out of all of that, I just think he's a great guy. Keaton, thank you for joining us at the Dangerous Men Show.
Hey man, I appreciate being here, and I like that introduction. I appreciate it. I like what you said. I'm one of those. I'm one of the birds flying. I've been flying for a really long time, taking a lot of criticism from the birds in the cage. So I really like that. I like that how you laid that out.
Give us a quick rundown, like your story from, I mean, serious guys. This guy lives in one of the most beautiful homes in all of Salt Lake City, has a helicopter out in his front yard. He has the nicest cars. I mean, just amazing. He's blessed by God immensely. But tell us where you started. Like, give us your bottom story, Keaton.
Yeah. So really early on in my life, when I was 21, my father actually passed away, And I was the oldest of five siblings. And all growing up, my father was the nine to fiver. He was the college, he was the education, 401k save, and he taught the safe route. And he always told us, all of his children, like that's the best route to go. And as he got towards the end of his life, he actually passed away at 47, very young. And he was the big CEO of a company, and the whole thing that he had taught us our entire lives kind of went out the window. The last 2 years, the company kind of threw him out. And they were like, "Hey, you're not healthy enough. We don't need you anymore." And literally on his deathbed, I came to a realization that everything that he had taught me about the safe route, the 9 to 5, the play safe, be comfortable, was all bullshit. And I realized really, really quickly, and in fact, I remember this thought coming to me as he was on his deathbed. He actually passed away in my arms in our living room. I remember all growing up, I never could understand why he would teach that because it didn't make sense to me. For me, it was kind of like you sink or swim on your own ship, right? And when he passed away, I was like, you know what? I don't want to live life that way. I want to create my own life, and I don't have a choice. I don't work well for other people. I never did good in school. I never worked for anybody. And at that point, I kind of was like, I think entrepreneurship is the only way for me. And I came up with a saying that I still to this day live by, and it is, I would rather sink on my own ship than sail on somebody else's. And from the time I was 21 until now, I just turned 38. I have been a serial entrepreneur. I built businesses. I never had any money given to me, so it was always off of my back. It was always bootstrapped. It was always figuring out how to create the life that I wanted off of me and my abilities, which, by the way, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of talents. I didn't have a lot of skills. I had one thing. I had determination. I had the drive. And I just knew I can't work for anybody else. And truthfully, one of the most powerful moments of my life, and you talk about dangerous men, a boy becomes a man when he loses his father, whether that's in real life or whether he fabricates it. That really is the truth. And I lost my father when I was 21. So guess what? I had nothing. I had no safety net. It was time for me at 21 to step up. And the last week of my father's life, I asked him, I said, "Dad, are you afraid to die?" And he said to me, I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid to leave my children and my wife without me. And in that conversation, I had a really, really powerful realization, and I made a promise to my father. And I don't know if it was just because I wanted him to feel better, but I was lying through my teeth. I said, "Dad, that's not something I want you to worry about. I will take care of the family. I will take care of mom. I will do what I need to do. And I can tell you it's not going to be a 9 to 5. I'm going to create the life that I want. I'm going to take care of everybody." And from that time moving forward, I started business after business after business to create the financial freedoms that I wanted. And when I was 21, I had one goal. I want to become a millionaire by the time I'm 30. I had no money to my name. I remember I had $126 in my bank account when my dad died. And I knew for me to get to where I could fulfill the promise to my father, "Hey, I'm going to take care of mom. I'm going to take care of the siblings. I'm the oldest of everybody," that I was going to have to step up in a way and no one was going to help me. I came to that realization nobody's here to help you. And for you to become the man you need to become, you need to understand this is on your back and nobody else's, which a lot of men today don't do. They don't. They always have a backup plan. They have somebody that's going to help them, or they think somebody's coming to save them. A true dangerous man is a man who understands life can be handled by himself and that no one's coming. One of my favorite sayings is by Sun Tzu. He talks about death ground and he's talking about warriors. He says warriors will fight with 3 times the power when they are on death ground. And then he kind of labels out what death ground is. Death ground is that you have no other option but to kill or be killed. No one is coming to save you, and there is no plan B. And I fell in love with that saying because when I was 21, it was kind of like, "Hey, man, no one's coming. Your back's against the wall. You are on death ground, and what you want, you must create, and no one is going to create it for you." And at 21, man, I was just a young, dumb kid. I didn't know anything, but I put my head down and I went to work and I built the craziest companies. I had a plastic surgery company. I had a dental office. I had a marketing company. I had a hard money lending company. I just built company after company. I had no idea what I was doing. And by the time I was 29, I had made my first $1 million. And the craziest part was that was when the true transformation happened for me. I had a TV show for about 10 years. It was one of the biggest reality shows. It was the biggest reality show for about 10 years, called Diesel Brothers. We were on the Discovery Channel. And throughout the whole TV show, in the background, I was building businesses, just building businesses and building businesses and building businesses. Well, what really happened, and no fault of my own because I was young, I burned down everything. I burned down my marriage. I burned down my parenting. I burned down my relationships because all I wanted was that almighty dollar. And I specifically remember when I turned 29, our TV show was huge. I had made some money. I'd done all these things, and I was like, I am unfulfilled. This is not the life that I want. This is not who I want to become. And at 29 years old, I realized, which now what I teach, true purpose in life is personal progression. It's personal development. Everything that I want, I can create if I focus on building me, not on making money, not on becoming famous, not on having all of these things. And that's when I fell in love with this idea. It's like, hey man, I got to work on me twice as hard as I work on anything else, and I will create the life ultimately that I want. And that's kind of when I fell in love with this, like, hey, I can keep building businesses, but I am always going to be the bottleneck to my businesses. And if I'm the bottleneck, that means I'm the problem, and it also means I'm the solution. So I fell in love with personal development and personal growth. And I went after, I love that you give your pillars. I went after 5 pillars. I went after this idea that a man should focus on 5 things in his life. And if he does, everything else comes to fruition. And my 5 pillars are kind of simple: physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and then financial health. And if a man will focus on himself in those pillars, he will build the life that he wants. I'll tell you, for your listeners, listen, I'm not the richest. I am not the smartest. I'm not the most talented, but I am a rare human being. I am a human being that can stand in front of anyone and tell them, I have created the exact life that I want. And not very many people can say that. Not even rich people can say that. The life that I've created has been based around the personal development that I've sought. And now, what's so beautiful is everything I get, everything I achieve is just a byproduct of me actually building myself, which is again why I started coaching just a few years ago. I went out to the world and I was like, listen, I can help any human being become better if I help them focus on themselves. They can grow their marriage, they can build their parenting, they can become better leaders, they can make more money, they can get in shape, they can have everything they want in life if they focus on themselves. And that's ultimately what my journey has been over the last 17 years, building 50 plus businesses and having some fame with TV. All of those things are cool, but none of them are really what matter. What matters is that me, myself, I'm chasing one thing, and that's the greatest version of myself. Because the greatest version of any human being, the greatest version, by the way, the greatest version of any man is a dangerous man. If I chase the greatest version, I will create everything on my heart that God has given me to desire and aspire to, as long as those are righteous. He will help me accomplish those because that version of me can accomplish those things. And what's so beautiful about that is any human being that's listening to this can say, I am where I am today, and I have what I have because of who I am. If I wish for more, all I have to do is become more. And that's ultimately what my life consists of and looks like today. That's why I spend so much time speaking and so much time and energy mentoring and spending time on podcasts, is to get to the world, to get men and women to open up their eyes and say, stop chasing the dollar, stop chasing the fame, stop chasing the things that don't matter. Chase the version of you that can change the world, the greatest version of you. And that's when you will have everything you want to have in this life. And that's ultimately what I do now.
Wow, that's really awesome because our messages are so close and similar.
Yeah, that's why I liked what
And
you said.
I know what he's saying because he's really saying to become the best version of you, you have to dominate. For him, it's five. For me, I'm trying to narrow it down to as few as I can get, so you guys can get it, guys. Okay,
Yeah.
but these domains that we're talking about, whether he mentions five, your mind, your spiritual life, your physical body, your relationships, and your money, what we're communicating to you, okay, guys, is that all five are important, and that you can succeed in one and be failing on the other four, and you're still a failure.
Yep.
You're not a dangerous man.
Yeah.
You can win in money, but lose in your marriage. Win in your marriage, don't have money, or your physical body's off, or your mind's all whacked out, but a real man does what he's talking about. It's walking in that dominion where you've conquered all four of these realms, and then that's when you become really powerful. And that's what this man's done. He's conquered all four at a young age, which is incredible. I want to dive in though on the money piece, because I'm with you on this. Become a better version of yourself. Jim Rohn used to say, if you want to 2x your money, you got to 4 times your learning. You
Yep.
got to quadruple your learning.
Yep.
And but with money, right? It's like the difference between the rich and the poor is a decision. And what I like about what you did say is that you decided that you were going to become a millionaire. And the two of us understand that as a man, and we're, you know, both of us have kind of some spiritual people following us, spiritual men. And spiritual men, many times, Keaton, you know how they get. They tend to get like money's this evil demon, you know, and so they never decide to become rich. They
Yeah.
never make that decision. And yet, for a man, money is, apart from salvation, money is so important, and we're going to be judged harder and harsher about money than any other area. I mean, we could be fat 500 pounds, but if we're got a lot of money, you're not going to be judged as hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people all the time because I spend a lot of time speaking spiritually. One of the most important things I think an individual who wants to become dangerous should focus on is they should become a spiritual giant. Like that's one of the things I teach. You should become a spiritual giant. You want to become very dangerous, you should become a spiritual giant. But in that realm of spirituality, a lot of people feel that, oh, well, God never said we should be rich or you're not supposed to be rich. But the truth is there's no nobility in poverty. There isn't. And here's what I will tell you, and this is my favorite thing. God uses every one of his powerful men as a tool in his hand. And what is money? It's a tool to progress people, individuals, and even the kingdom of God on earth. That's what it is. If it didn't take money, then we wouldn't have to have any of it, but we do. And one of the most beautiful things that I've learned in my life is that I can become a very powerful tool in God's hands when I have the resources of money to do so. One of my firm beliefs is that you should give away a lot of the money that you have to those who are in need. And my favorite thing to this day, I have lots of money. I like to spend money on myself. I like to spend money on my family. But I'll tell you what's way greater than that is spending money on individuals who need it the most, who cannot at that point in their life have it. I spend ample amount of time this morning. Randomly, I put up a post on one of my social medias. I said, you know what I want to do today? I want to find a single individual who has children and I want to pay their mortgage. And this morning, I ended up wiring somebody $2,500 to pay their mortgage. It was a single mother of three children who just got out of an abusive relationship, and she's looking at being kicked out of her place because she can't afford rent. Her rent was, I think, $1,250. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pay two months of your rent. I want you to relax and I want you to enjoy. You're going to tell me that that money that was allotted to her to ease her burden is not from God? I don't believe that. There is no nobility in poverty. The dangerous man, the man of God, has access to resources to give to those in need. And that's a hard thing to understand when you go to church and you read and you go through all these things. A lot of times society has taught us that, oh, well, being rich is evil. No, absolutely not. Even God himself uses money to bless people. And when I understand that, and in my righteous desires, I wish to serve him, the more money he blesses me with to serve the people that he needs me to serve. And then your eye is opened to this idea that there are individuals who are on their hands and knees praying for somebody like you to step up and help them. And God says, hey, you're my tool today. And they need help financially. And I need you to step in and do it. And as soon as you start to do those things, you realize money is a beautiful servant. It's a horrible master, but it's a beautiful servant. And it's a servant for those who actually wish to serve God as a tool to do that service. And I've fallen in love with that. I give away a lot of money every month, and it's my favorite thing to do. I look
Love
at
it.
all kinds of people of who I can help and how I can help, and it's the resource of money that allows me to do that.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Do you want to be the person who's receiving it, or would you rather be on the other side of the one being the one who can give it?
Exactly.
That's what it all boils down to. And so many times, people get confused when they read the Bible because they don't see that the Bible is a book of warnings about money and it's a book of promises about money.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly balanced book that gives you both perspectives so that, guys, you have wisdom.
Yeah.
You need wisdom because you got to understand the warnings over here. You got to understand there's still promises. And some of these religious gurus get, who's stuck with a poverty mentality get stuck in all the warnings, and they read
Yeah.
the warnings to you every time they get up to the pulpit, and it scares you.
Yeah.
And now we keep men from, because I like what you said, from growing. You set this goal, you set these big goals, and big goals force you as a man. Oh, man, I better get better. Man, I better read some more books. Man,
Yeah.
I better pray a little bit. I better get closer to God because without God, I'm sure not going to accomplish all this. No way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that again, when you understand that it becomes a tool in your hand and you are a righteous individual, you're a spiritual giant. It's nothing but a tool to bless the lives of those people around you, to bless the lives of those people that you are responsible for, that you are the steward over. And I will tell you, I do understand money can be used for evil purposes, but it doesn't change the fact that money is a resource and a tool, and it is the individual that makes it evil or righteous. It's not the tool itself.
Yeah, for real. A hammer can be used to build, it can be used to knock somebody on the head and
Yeah.
kill them.
Yeah.
Ever feel like something's just off? Your body's slipping, your marriage is strained, and your income is stalled, and no one around you can push you to win. It's not your fault. You're just hanging out in the wrong circles. Ecclesiastes says, pity a man who walks alone, because if he falls, he's in trouble. So I'm inviting you into the Dangerous Coalition, an elite brotherhood for high achieving men ready to dominate in every domain in life. Join me at dangerouscoalition.com and watch where God takes you in the days to come. It'll be more than you ever thought possible. Godspeed, my friend. Let's get into Limitless.
Yeah.
You built the brand Limitless. You got to know All right. Hey, Keaton, I need some help here. I think my head, I think my head is all messed up. I think I boxed myself in. Help me to live the limitless life. What?
So it's funny. I began understanding for myself where I was with God and who God was and who I was. When I actually built this brand, I sat down and I thought, what am I going to name this group? And I started to go through my core values and I came up with my ethos. You know, your ethos is your guiding belief, and every dangerous man should have an ethos. If you don't, and you're listening, you should spend some time coming up with your ethos. And your ethos is very powerful, by the way. It is your guiding belief, it is the belief that gets you off of the fence of indecision into a decisive leadership mode. And when I sat down, I actually sat down one night with my wife and I was sitting on the couch and we were having a conversation. She said, what are you
Hey,
going to name this group?
hold on a second. You're gonna have guys stuck right there.
With?
Ethos.
Oh, yeah.
Can you dive? Just kind of give me a little.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
define that a little slower?
yeah, absolutely. So this is actually one of the first things I do when I mentor individuals on a one-on-one basis. I do a lot of one-on-one mentoring and I ask an individual every time, "Do you have an ethos?" And most people don't know what that is. And again, if you look it up in the dictionary, your ethos is your guiding belief. It is the platform on which you make all your decisions. Now, here's the problem, and here's where we go back to this like nobility and poverty. If I made an individual sit down and write out what are your core values? Now, most men would write some pretty cool things, some great things. I want to help other people. I want to impact. I want to change the world, right? One of the exercises I ask individuals to do to come up with their ethos is a very simple one. Get a piece of paper, and I want you to take an hour and I want you to list off your core values. What are your core values as a human being? You should know what that is. And most people, indecisive people, they have their core values. Then I ask an individual to do something really specific. And one of my good friends, Tim Grover, he said, you've got to go into the darkness to find your light. And to me, I didn't know what that meant until I came up with my ethos. So I wrote this whole thing down, this whole list, my core values. I had 30 or 40 of them. On the top of it was, I want to help other people, right? I took that paper and I drew a line right down the middle. And I asked a really specific question, a dark question. What am I willing to die for? And from that core values, I began to filter over to my ethos. I asked the question, am I willing to die for that? Which, by the way, any man who wishes to become a true leader and a dangerous man should ask the question, what am I willing to die for? I become
Oh
more
yeah.
dangerous when I know what I'm willing to die for. Now, here's where it gets a little bit crazy. So I write this, and I'll just use my first one. My first one was in my core values. I want to help other people. I asked the question, am I willing to die to help other people? What do you think my answer was?
Yes.
It was
It was
no.
no. It was
It was
no.
no. I thought for a moment, am I willing to leave my children fatherless and my wife husbandless to
Oh, okay.
help other individuals? The answer was no, I am not. So I scratched that off and it didn't get carried over to my ethos. I realized that what was most important was me, my wife, my children. That is most important and in priority. Once those are taken care of, then yes, my answer would be to help other people. But I am not willing to leave my children and my wife to help other people. That's a hard thing to come up with. That's a dark answer. But you
Mhm.
must, like Tim says, go into your darkness to find your light. So I began to go down my list. My next thing on my list was integrity. Do I or would I leave my children over honor and integrity? This one had me thinking for a long time. Am I willing to leave them over my honor and integrity? I began in this little, thing that I do, I began to get very emotional. And the answer came to me very clearly. Absolutely, I am. I am okay picturing my children at my gravestone thinking my father died over honor and integrity. Yes, that is something to me that I am willing to die over. So I shifted from my core values over to my ethos. One of my guiding beliefs, the thing that is top priority for me is honor and integrity. Then I did this on every one of these core values, shifting them through that filter of, am I willing to die for it? I began to drop like flies all my core values. I'm not willing to die for that. Am I willing to die to be filthy rich? No, I'm not. Am I willing to die to be the leader that my wife needs? Yes, I am. Am I willing to die over leading my children to the righteous way, to God? Yes, I am. And that created one of the most powerful lists that a man can create. It was my ethos. My ethos is my guiding belief. We are the sum total of our thoughts and our decisions. From what you look like, what you say, and what you do, it is all off the platform of what you think. A true dangerous individual is someone who is decisive, who makes decisions quickly because they know the platform on which they believe. And even Christ taught this, why this is so powerful. Christ said, I'll take cold and I'll take hot, but lukewarm I will spit out of my mouth. He was teaching that those who are indecisive, on the fence of indecision, which by the way is most society sits on the fence of indecision because they go back and forth with their core values. Oh, I've got to stay here and help my wife, but my neighbor needs help. What should I do? When I come up with my ethos, it's very clear what my priorities are, and I make decisions. And by the way, when you come up with your ethos, you will learn that people will not like you. That's okay. A true man who comes with true decisions will understand not everybody's going to like you, but you don't seek likeness. You don't seek love. You seek one thing above all else, and that's trust. I seek to be trusted above liked and loved, and it creates in me the decision making that I must make. I get it. Sometimes my children do not like me, but do they trust me? Yes. See, I would rather be trusted by God than I would be liked by him. Christ, or not Christ, God actually taught this in the Old Testament to an individual named Sam. I believe it was in Kings. He sent out Sam and he said, I want you to be a leader of this village. And he said, but first, I'm going to give you a trial and I'm going to test you to see if you're the leader that I need you to be. He says, I need you to go over and I need you to kill everybody in that village. They are a wicked people. I need you to destroy them and even destroy their livestock. So what does Sam do? He goes over there, he kills everybody except for the king, and he kills all the livestock except for the sacrificial animals. He comes back to God. God says, did you do what I asked you to do? And he says, I did, but I saved the king and I saved the animals to sacrifice to you. And God says to him, sacrifice is good, but to be obedient is better, because in obedience, it means I trust you. And then God says to him, why didn't you do what I said? Why can I not trust you? And he comes back with the number one answer why we as men don't become trusted. He said, God, I feared the voice of my people. They told me not to kill the king. They told me not to sacrifice the animals. And I feared their voices. In wanting to become their leader, I did what I thought they wanted.
Ouch.
And
Ouch.
God said, you are not ready to be a leader because I cannot trust you. And what's it's incredible, God loves everyone, but God doesn't trust everyone. To become an individual who's powerful and dangerous, you must first seek trust above all else. When I stand in front of God, I am not going to ask, did you like me? Did you love me? I'm going to ask him one question. Did you trust me? And the only way for me to become that trusted, dangerous, powerful individual is by first understanding I must do what I must do based on my decisions that are not influenced by other individuals. I don't care what people think. I don't care if they like me. I don't care what their opinion is. I will do what is trusted above all else. You want to talk about a dangerous individual? You find an individual who does not care about what other people think. And all he wants to do is be trusted. You know, you talk about the life of battle, you talk about being on a battlefield. Who do you want to lead you? Someone who is concerned about what you think of them, or someone who is focused on trusting and you trusting them to get you safely off of that battlefield? A true leader is not liked. They're not. They are trusted. And when you build your ethos, you can then become trusted. One of the most beautiful, beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life. Now, you've been to my home up here in the mountains. I had an individual driving across the back side of my mountain. He was riding a four wheeler, and he had the emergency brake on. The four wheeler ended up starting on fire, right?
Whoa.
And went up in
Okay.
flames. I run out into my front yard, and I mean, I've got 30-foot flames in my backyard. All of my neighbors come up to the house. My kids come out. Everybody's freaking out. They're freaking out. I jump in my truck. I run up there. I'm fighting the fire. I ended up putting the fire out because the fire department didn't get there for like 2 hours, which the whole mountainside would have been on fire. One of the coolest experiences in my life. I had just had a conversation with my daughter. She wasn't really happy with me. It was one of those hard conversations. She wasn't, I could say she didn't like me in that moment. One of my neighbors ended up taking a video of me up there fighting, and then she kind of scrolled throughout my front yard. There's about 25 people in my front yard. Everybody there was losing their minds because if the mountain starts on fire, everybody's house is going. So everybody there is losing their mind. As she scrolls through all of my children and my wife. The only individuals in my front yard who had no concern or worry in the world were my children and my wife. I came back down. She sent me that video. The video made me emotional, and here's why. My children trust that their father will handle what needs to be handled in the time that it needs to be handled. They may not like me, but they trust me to do what needs to be done. A true individual who becomes powerful understands he leads in trust. My children will not always be happy with the decisions I make, but they will not question whether it is the right decision. They trust their father to protect and provide and give them the route. Whether or not they agree with it, they trust it. And when you become an individual who has an ethos, that ethos is so strong and powerful in your core that every decision you make is no longer, well, if I make this decision, will they like me? The question is, if I make this decision, will they trust me? And then you become a true leader. You become a powerful man. You become a man of God. And I can tell you again, I think it would be real hard if God asked me to go down and kill all of my neighbors because they were wicked individuals. I can imagine that that would be a pretty hard thing to do, as God asked Sam to do in the Old Testament. But what was he doing? He was wondering if he was the leader that he could trust to give exact, examples to be obedient to, and if he would come back with excuses or if he would deliver. I no longer seek to be liked by God. I want to be trusted by him. And building your ethos is the beginning of an individual who can begin building trust in those they lead because they no longer are influenced by what people think, what they say, what they want. And that is a very powerful shift in an individual. You talk about living inside a box. Those who live in a box stay in that box because they are concerned of the opinions of other people. A dangerous man no longer has a box. The only box is the box they create through the trust they wish to create. That's it. And that individual is
Come
very,
on, brother.
very powerful.
Come on, brother. You're on it now. And very timely message. Very timely message. Because there's a lot of quote men of God who are chicken, who should be opening up their mouth right now,
They
who should
see
be speaking out to the evils that is going on right here in the United States of America, and they are silent. They are chicken.
because
They
they're
are
scared.
afraid. They don't want to
They're-
speak for God. They want to speak for the people. I might lose a couple members out of my church. I might lose one of the guys that gives the most money. And they're and oh my goodness, this is just, bro. I see a whole book called Ethos on. I see a whole book.
I could definitely
I
write a
think
book on
this
it.
is a fire message right here.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love it. I just love it.
And you know, the more that I understand this, the more my
Ooh,
role, the more my duty is to make individuals open their eyes to see
right.
what they are created to do. And what they are created to do is to find who they are and who they are with God. You know, we started this conversation about limitless society. The reason that I named it Limitless Society is because I believe every individual is limitless. And the reason I believe that is because on my ethos tells me that God is my father and that I'm his son, which means I am heir to him. It means that you're his son and everyone listening is his child. If we are heir to God, what is impossible? What limits do we have? None. And our life on earth is to figure out how to get rid of those limits. And it first starts with our belief system and the ethos that guides that belief system. That's why ethos is so powerful.
Right, brother. Let's write a book on it.
I love it.
Let's write the guide. Let's write the guide. That's so cool. Hey, listen, I want you to tell everybody about, I mean, I know one of your ethos that's really huge is your family. It's particularly putting your wife first place. And tell them about you've got this trip to Cabos to help married couples. There's so many challenges going on. I mean, I'm fielding calls from guys all over the place, not having sex for a couple years. I mean, it's just divorces and they're having problems. And one thing that drives me nuts about working with men is like they wait till everything like their wife leaves them
To
before they
change.
decide, can you help me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell
You
them
know,
about what's going on down there in
so
Cabo.
you know, when I started mentoring and people came to me to ultimately, a lot of people come because they want to become better financially. The first conversation I ask is, "How is your marriage?" And I have individuals look at me like I'm stupid. Why are you asking me about my marriage? I came to you to help me make money. And I live and die by a principle. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if
Right.
you can't communicate in your marriage, you can't communicate in your business. If you can't lead in your marriage, you can't lead your business. And ultimately, if I take a real reflection of how is my marriage and where do I lack, that's where I lack everywhere else. So about 2 years ago, I started doing marriage masterminds, teaching individuals that the most important thing on this planet is your marriage. If you can't build that, you can't build anything. So we started to do these events where I took individuals for 3 days down to Cabo and we dove into how do we build the most important thing in the world. And you know, we talked a little bit about Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn said this. He said, if you really want to build your marriage, then the question should be asked. And this is a simple kind of phrase. I will focus on me for you if you will focus on you for me. And that's what my underlining message is in my marriage mastermind. You have put everybody else first in nobility. You must put yourself first. That's that personal development piece. The better I become, the better I can deliver. The more love I create myself, the more I can give my wife. The more understanding I create, the more knowledge I gain, the greater my marriage can become. And that's what we teach. And so, December 5th to the 7th, I'm holding a marriage mastermind in Cabo San Lucas. And it's, again, it's one of my most powerful events. I have people leaving there going out and 2 or 3xing their income because all they did was focus on fixing their marriage, which is a beautiful thing.
That's awesome. And where can they go and find out more information about that?
So anybody that likes to connect with me, I've got a lot of followers across all social media platforms, but the one that I actually get back to, I actually answer all my messages on my Instagram. It's the muscle. They can reach out to me there. They can DM me, and I can give them kind of the information of all of my programs, my marriage mastermind, all of my big events, and even Limitless Society. Any questions that any of your listeners have, if they want to connect, they can connect with me there on Instagram.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we will post the muscle link to this uh this opportunity that you guys may have, and you got plenty of time, December 5th through the 7th, and you do those once a year too, so this isn't dated.
Yeah, no, we actually do 4 year. We do them quarterly.
Oh, great, great, great. So if you're listening and it's a couple years down the road, go over there, check it out. He's going to keep running these, and I'm proud of him for that, because it's so needed. So I'm excited. So let me just ask you a final question before we get going. I know you got to go. Uh, when you think of a dangerous man, what do you think of?
When I think of a dangerous man, I think of a man who is capable of violence that has learned to harness. I think of a man who has learned, and I told you one of my pillars is emotional health. True emotional health is the regulation of emotion. 99% of people, they live in their lives by having an emotion and allowing it to regulate them. A very powerful individual is someone who feels an emotion, regulates the emotion, and then makes a decision. A dangerous man is a man who can learn to regulate his violence, to regulate who he is and the destruction he can create, to ultimately regulate it into creation and not destruction. But here's the best part of it. And I like this because truthfully, in my heart, I am a warrior. I am the guy who will go to battle and I will burn down the world if I need to. It is dangerous individuals who seek righteousness. That, to me, is a true dangerous man. That is a true leader. That is a true powerhouse. That's why I say you cannot truly be a dangerous man until you are a spiritual giant. Because in your heart you seek righteousness and you pursue righteousness. And in the pursuit of righteousness, sometimes there is a time you are called to violence. And that is a true dangerous man.
That's right. Violence, power under control, because a lot of people, they get it confused with the word meekness. The word meekness means a sword in a sheath, in the sheath. It means you have the ability to cut somebody's head off, but you use meekness, and you understand that you don't get hyper emotional. That was the mistake of Peter. He, he gets all hyper emotional. He had the power, you
Yeah.
know, but he didn't have it under control. And he got all in his motions. And Jesus is like, dude, this
Calm
is
down.
not God leading you for violence.
Yeah.
This is your emotions playing. This has to be done. It has to happen. But still, guys, we have to have that side of us, that dangerous side of us, both the lion and the lamb, because Jesus is both. There's times you need to turn up the tables. There's times you need to put your kid on your lap and give him a hug and give him a kiss. And wisdom is knowing the difference between when does my kid need a kiss and when does he need discipline.
Yeah. Absolutely. And dude, I would say to those people listening, understand this. There will be a time that you are called to be dangerous and violent. There is
Yeah.
going to be that time. And if you are not prepared, you will not serve as that dangerous individual that you need to be.
Our job is to protect our family. And what if, I mean, your house, I mean, if someone wanted to, they could try to, I mean, very easy. You could be a very easy target to any
Yeah,
robber, to any thief.
absolutely. And the
And
dangerous man in me says, come on up.
and if he steps in, the dangerous man says, I got a piece called a
Yep.
gun. And Jesus said, peace be still. And you're done. You're
Yep.
done. You're finished.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree, brother. Okay. Thank you so much. Again, I want you to go over to his Instagram account. I want you to go check him out. Some of you guys who are in trouble with your marriages, hey, I'm going to check my calendar. I'm going to check my calendar. If I don't go to this one, I'm going to go to one of these with him. My wife and I, we love doing this kind of stuff, and being a participant in this and growing in our marriage. and we do it quite often. Not too many people are doing it anymore. I mean, it used to be James Dobson, and they were a bunch of old people, and it's so boring for us as young people. It's like, oh my God, really? And it's just so, but we went to it anyway, and get a little bit here and there out of it. So this will be cutting edge, guarantee, with a guy like this. Thank you so much for coming on with us. Thank you for being part of the show. Hey, everybody, do us a huge favor, man. This was fire. This whole ethos thing, being trusted by God, not just liked by God. Whew. You guys share this. Help us get the word out. This show is new, but man, you guys see the people, the quality of people, man, one after another. We're bringing to you live. Go share this. There's other brothers out there that are struggling, that they need help and encouragement and uplifting, and here's the place to get it. God bless you, and stay dangerous.
So you want to be a king? Well, being a king isn't about your ego. It's about serving your brothers, because real leaders don't just sit there while their brothers suffer in silence. You've got guys in your circle in bad marriages, broke as a joke, drifting spiritually, and letting their bodies go. You know who they are. You probably thought of a few as I was saying that. So here's your next move. Hit the share and get 5 of them to join this men's movement. Because if you're really a king, you won't just rise alone, you'll bring your brothers with you.